And we are live.
Awesome.
Welcome, everybody. We are just going to wait 1 or 2 minutes to let everybody get joined properly, settled in, comfortable, before we actually get started. So hang tight, and we will be getting started in just 1 or 2 minutes. Welcome, everybody that just hopped in. Again, we're going to let everybody get settled in, grab a coffee or water before we get started, so we can have everyone's full attention and everyone has time to hop on before we get started. While we wait, feel free to use the chat button. You can let us know where you're joining us from, what kind of work you're scheduling and time tracking for. It's always really interesting for us to get to know you all a bit better before we go ahead and get started. So if you do want to chat with us while we wait, feel free. Cara and I have been working at When I Work with customers for a long time now, and we have seen every type of setup under the sun, maybe not every type, but a ton of When I Work accounts, all different types of companies, use cases, and setups. So we'd love to hear what you're trying to accomplish or even just where you're joining us from, because we always have you all joining from really cool places around the US and of course around the world as well. Awesome. We've got Beverly from North Carolina and Dave from Manitoba. We do have a lot of users in Canada as well. So welcome, Beverly and Dave. Wow, we've got Washington, California, all over. Let's see, welcome everybody that just joined. I do see a couple have just joined. We are just chatting within the chat function just to get to know each other a bit better while we wait. Thanks to everyone who did chat in. It's super interesting to get to know a little bit more about you all before we get started. It does look like, I don't want to take up too much time, so it does look like mostly everyone has joined us by now. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome one last time to the live Q&A. We're so happy to have you all join, and we're excited to help you get started with When I Work. So during the next 30-ish minutes, we are going to be answering your When I Work questions. And we're going to show you all sorts of things, some ways that you can save time scheduling, cut down on overtime costs, cut down your payroll time. But the content is going to be driven and directed by the questions that you all ask us today. So the questions are going to be flowing in, and we will get to as many as we can. If your question doesn't get answered or doesn't get answered fully, or you come up with another question after the session, we're always here to help. So listen for more information on how to get in contact with us. We will go over all of the different ways that you can contact us at the end of the session. If you're totally new to When I Work and just checking out your new account and the different plans that we offer, we're also going to go over all of the different plan information, billing information at the end as well, and how you can upgrade your account and get more information on upgrades. And if you're joining us to ask questions on your existing When I Work account and you are already using us, that's awesome too. We welcome you as well to ask any questions that you have. So that being said, we are going to be using the Q&A feature in Zoom. So not the chat tool that we've been using. We'll turn that off for the time being until the end, but we will be using the Q&A tool. So if you have any questions that you want to ask on today's session, feel free to pop your question in the Q&A. Cara is going to be going through those and grabbing as many as she can. She might rearrange some depending on where we are in the product and what makes most sense, but we will try to get to them all if we can. And so while I change my screen, feel free to pop your questions in there or at any time during the webinar. So I'm going to quickly, as fast as I can, share my screen over to my When I Work screen. All right, Cara, can you see my When I Work screen?
Yep, I sure can.
Awesome. So I just want to give a quick introduction to what you're seeing on the screen right now. For those of you who are brand new to When I Work, I am logged in as the main admin on this account. Basically, the main admin just has the highest access level to viewing everything within the When I Work account, changing all types of settings and accessing the account billing page. So just essentially the main user on the account. I am in my scheduler up here. This is where you can create shifts and publish out shifts for your employees so they know when to work. This top menu bar is going to be your main navigational center in When I Work, where you can access all the different tools within When I Work. So the attendance tool, clocking in and out, work chat, our in-app messaging system, and then over on this right-hand side here, you can access the different settings within When I Work, and then the workplace icon here will be where you can enter in any information into your account that you might need. So like employees, positions, pull reporting, things like that. But with that, I will stop and we can go ahead and get started with questions.
All right, looks like we have some questions filtering in. Thank you everybody for submitting your questions. So let's start off with this one from Andrea. She says that she works for a restaurant and would like to have the front of house and back of house separated into different schedules. Is that possible?
Definitely. I know that when you're managing a restaurant, we work with a ton of restaurants, and when I work, it's really important to make sure that you have coverage for both the front of house and back of house staff. And it's a lot of times important that there's a manager for each one of those schedules, things like that. And you can definitely split up those employees by schedule. So the way that you would create a new schedule in When I Work is hovering over this workplace icon and just clicking into your schedules. You can add any schedule here, and you could even add an address if you need. And then it would just be front of house and back of house. Then within your employee list, you'll be able to assign the correct employees to the correct schedules. So maybe you have your hosts, and then they would all be on the front of house schedule, for example, and maybe cooks on the back of house. Whatever your workplace setup is like, you just want to make sure that your employees are tagged to the correct schedule so they show up on that schedule within your scheduler. So clicking back into the scheduler here, you can toggle or move between the different schedules that you've made on the left-hand side filter area. So you would just click on the down arrow and then just toggle back and forth between your front of house and back of house schedules. If you do have employees that are scheduled or able to be scheduled on both of those different departments, you will always see their other scheduled shifts if they maybe work a back of house position and a front of house position. You'll always see their other scheduled shifts for a day, so you don't double book them or anything like that. I don't know how often that comes up, but you always have that peace of mind that you're not double booking any employees if they do move across schedules often. I quickly do also want to point out our job site tool. I know a lot of times when there's multiple schedules involved, the job site question comes up a lot. So if you're using multiple schedules, again, you can use it for front of house, back of house, like different departments, but you can also use multiple schedules for different locations. So if you have maybe 2 different coffee shops, for example, that's a great use case for the multiple schedule tool. But if you need a different way to add locations and you just want to add a location onto a specific shift, you can definitely do that as well using our job site tool. So even if you wanted to create different departments and use that for job sites and just have one schedule and all of your different shifts just tagged to a different job site, you could use that as well. You can use job sites for things like indicating which client the employee should be seeing on the shift, which equipment they should be using on the shift, and then of course, which offsite or remote locations they should be going to for their shift. If you do use your job sites and you tag them to those individual shifts, you can always use the filter options to filter out I'm just going to add a job site really quickly. You can use the filter options to filter out any job sites that you don't want to see, or filter out only the job site that you want to see. So keep that in mind. If you want to use multiple locations, you can either use job sites or multiple schedules. And again, they can be used for job sites, clients, departments, any reasons you might want to split up your employees or let them know where to go. And we do have an awesome help article that you can find within the Need Help tab. So this is our help center, and if you search for job site, there is a awesome article that's called Job Sites versus Schedules, which one should I use? And we have all the different use cases of why you might want to use job sites versus schedules. So check that out if you want to know more about which one you should use for your business.
Awesome. On to our next question. Monica asks, can staff input their availability? Can staff block off hours they want to work or they're unavailable? And then also, how does that show on the scheduler?
Great question. The availability tool is actually one of my favorite. I have so many, but it is one of my favorite tools in When I Work. I think it's very beneficial just mutually for, both you as the manager and the employees. Employees are going to know they're going to be allowed to show you when they can come to work, when they're able to pick up shifts, and it's going to help you schedule employees for shifts that they actually are going to be showing up for. So employees are able to input this on their end, but you're also able to input their availability for them. But they would be logging into their account, hovering over their name and clicking My Availability. They would then be presented with a calendar where they can then add in their preferences. So they can either choose I'm unavailable to work for an unavailability preference, and I prefer to work for an availability preference. So it's either I can't work this time generally, or I can or I prefer to work these times generally. Then they can choose either all day, so blocking off that entire day for their preference, or a specific time within that day. And a really important feature here is that they can repeat those preferences, because for availability, generally, this is a really good use case for people who have that availability ongoing. So, maybe this is for employees that are part-time, that always are going to be busy at another job, taking care of kids, or whatever it might be. And those preferences generally repeat on a weekly basis. Or maybe it's a student that has class and it's every Friday from 9 to 4. They will always be in class and they'll never be able to pick up those shifts unless they ditch. So the repeating tool is specifically really important, I think, for the availability tool. So when they add in their preferences and save those preferences, back in the scheduler here, when you as the manager are going in to schedule shifts for your employees, you'll be able to see their preferences with the green and gray tabs found within the little cell blocks for their specific days. So you can see here, Phoebe is available to pick up shifts, or she prefers to pick up shifts on this day from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. So if you can, it would be great to have her scheduled for a shift within those times. A gray tab again indicates an unavailability. So Phoebe is unavailable to pick up shifts from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on this Wednesday. And I just want to quickly show, if you were to try to schedule her in for a shift here, you can see the shifts that conflict with her preference are grayed out. But you're still able to actually schedule her for those times, because the preference is really meant to help guide your scheduling. So if you can avoid scheduling Phoebe for this shift, you'll say, okay, I see that there's a conflict here. I'll try to schedule it for a different employee. But if you really, really need Phoebe to pick up the shift, you are able to add that shift over her preference. It is supposed to be just a guide, and these preferences aren't an official request. It's not official time off. You can see an official time off request is shown here, and it blocks out the entire day, and you're not actually allowed to schedule a shift over that day. You can't press into it. So that's what an official time off request would look like, rather than just a preference here that you are able to schedule over. So you're just meant to help you guide your scheduling.
Awesome. All right, next we have a question about employees. Can I add and drop employees each month on my plan? If I drop, is their info saved for later? And how would I reactivate an employee profile?
Good question. So we do have the ability for you to archive and then reactivate users if you don't need them for a specific amount of time, and then you can reactivate them if you do need them again. And if you do archive enough users to be out of your user group that you're in, you could lower your billing or increase your billing for the specific month that you're in, granted that you're in a month-to-month plan. So I'll show you how you can do that. You would just hover over your shop front icon again, click into your employee list. And if you wanted to archive an employee, you would just go ahead and click on the trash can here. And that sounds harsh. You're not just throwing them away, you are just archiving them. It's the same as a delete button, but we call it archive just because you are able to reactivate them. You're kind of just putting them in the archive and it is deleted from your account. The employee will not show up on these schedules anymore, and they won't have access to your account, but it's just called archive because once you do successfully archive an employee, you can click this three little button, view all your archived employees, and you are able to restore any archived employees and their information will still be saved within the system. Another important fact is that if you archive an employee, their timesheet and attendance information will remain in the account. So if you need to look back on their information timesheet wise, their timesheet information will be saved in the system. But again, you are able to archive and then reactivate employees on a need basis. And if you archive again enough employees to go above or below the specific user count that you're in or user group that you're in, you can increase and decrease the billing that you have. If you are on a month-to-month plan, if you're on an annual plan, you can only go up.
Perfect. All right. Beverly asks, if an employee does not clock in and out, can an admin add that time for them? And is there a way for employees to add that time to their timesheets?
Good question. I'm glad that we're heading over to the attendance tool. So I'm just going to hover over the attendance tab and hit into timesheets. And just to answer that question right away, yes, a manager will always be able to go in and access an employee's timesheet and add in any missed punches that they might have or change any punches in an employee's timesheet. So you would just click into the cell, delete, and then add a new time. Or do the same thing just to add a totally fresh time in the employee's timesheets. And then over in the details section, you can add in any other information about that clocked time. Employees also can either be allowed to just clock in on the way that you want them to. So either computer clock in, terminal clock in, or mobile clock in, whichever one that you're designating to be allowed for your employees. So you can have it where they can only actually punch their time, or within your attendance settings, you can allow your employees to enter and edit their own timesheet. So just like I did as the manager, your employee would be able to go into their own timesheet, edit, delete, or change any of their times within their own timesheets. And this is only allowed if you specifically allow this tool, because we know that it is a very workplace to workplace basis on if you want to allow your employees to edit their own times. If you do allow your employees to edit their own timesheets, you will get a little notification within their timesheets, which I can't show right now, but you will have a little user edited badge and you'll be able to see from the entry history who created or edited the time punch. If you are having it edit, it'll say edit by whoever did it and when they did it. If they punched their actual time, it'll say punched and then how they punched and then at that time. So you kind of will always know what is exactly happening in the timesheets, but you do have the ability to allow or restrict your employees from making those edits themselves.
Perfect. All right. Next one we have from Brad. I see you have an option to clock in with the mobile app. How does that work? Awesome. We love big, wide open questions like that.
I'll ramble. I love the mobile clock in. Everyone knows I will do a little ramble. I love the mobile clock in tool.
Yeah.
I find that employees love this tool, and it's not as scary as it seems. I know it seems a little bit like daunting to think about mobile clock in, but it's really easy. And When I Work makes it really simple and gives the correct use for it. So I'm going to hover over the gear icon again and click into my attendance settings to show and talk more about mobile clock in. So within your settings, you can turn on and off the mobile clock in option. And this will essentially, if you have it turned on, your employees will see a big green clock in button at the bottom of their When I Work apps. So when they download the app and log into their account on their mobile phone, they will see a big green button that says clock in. So that's all they have to do is just arrive at the workplace and start their work by clocking in. So super easy and simple, and employees love it because they're using their own devices and they generally won't forget to clock in because it's on their own device. And a question that comes up all the time with mobile clock in, which is super understandable, is will my employees be able to clock in from bed or the bus or wherever they might be if they're not on site? We don't want them to be clocking in and out and taking up valuable clocked time. And the answer is no, not if you don't want them to. If you want your employees to be able to clock in and out anywhere, that is right for some workplaces. But if you don't want your employees clocking in and out anywhere, you can always restrict where they clock in and where they clock out. So you can either choose clock in or clock out or both. And this will be restricting their clock in to their scheduled location. So this is either the address that is on their schedule where their shift is scheduled, or the address of the job site that is tagged to their scheduled shift. And as long as they are as close as they need to be, mine is really far away. The minimum is 100 meters. So as long as they are, at least in this case, 100 meters from their scheduled location, they'll be able to clock in. If they're not, they will not be able to clock in, and it'll just give them a little error that says you're not on site yet, so you can't clock in. And again, the minimum is though about 100 meter. And that just creates that fence so your employees can access the location from whichever side, essentially. So this is a really great option if you have, a lot of times I see this with construction workers. It's a great example. You're sending your workers to a ton of different job sites, and each one of them will be restricted to only clocking in on their scheduled job site. So super simple. They'll see which job site they're scheduled at, they'll arrive at that site, and then they will be allowed to clock in. So it's really going to streamline kind of your whole situation and make it so that there doesn't always have to be someone on site helping them or locking a terminal or something like that. So it's a really great option for employees, especially in this kind of more remote world.
Awesome. Lots of great questions about attendance coming in today. What integrations do you offer? I thought I saw you have one with QuickBooks. Does that work with the desktop version? And that one's from Cindy.
Good question, Cindy. We do have a lot of integrations from When I Work to a payroll processor. Some of them we created, and then some of them have been created by the payroll processor, and we call those third-party integrations. But I'll walk you through all of them. I'm just going to hover over the gear icon again and click into my integrations. This is where you'll see the landing page for all the integrations that we offer and any integration that you have currently activated in your account. So I don't have any active in my account right now because I don't have employees, but I'm just going to click See All Integrations. And this is where you can see all the integrations that we have built from When I Work to these specific payroll processors. So we do have QuickBooks Online, but we don't have QuickBooks Desktop. And while I don't know exactly how QuickBooks Desktop works, I've heard a lot of feedback that the export actually does work well with QuickBooks desktop. But that'll be something that you'd want to use your trial account for, pull a payroll summary, and then check that out on your own. But I have heard actually really good feedback about the way that we have our payroll summaries set up. But at this time for the direct integrations, it's only QuickBooks Online. But we have a ton of other great options and of course more to come. And then you can always learn more and set up your integrations here. And then we do have a couple of integrations that these companies have built to When I Work, which are totally usable as well. So if you have any questions on these, we can help to a certain extent, but any in-depth questions about how the integration works, you'll want to direct to these specific companies. And then if you scroll down even further, you can see that we are considering a ton of others. So if you want to cast your vote on which ones you might want to see in the future, we're always coming up with great new tools, great new integrations, and we want to hear from you. So it's really important that if you do want to have your voice heard, definitely just vote for whatever you're interested in seeing in the future. And then quickly, back in the attendance tool here, back in my timesheets, I'm just going to show you really quickly how you can send that information to your payroll processor that you have set up. So you'll want to close the period that you're on, and this will produce a payroll summary for your period based on all of your employees' timesheets and time punches. And then using this little button, you would click Export Period Hours. By default, it will download into an Excel file. And then if you do have a payroll integration set up, it will show up here as well in a little box. And then you'll just click that button and it will just send your payroll summary to your payroll processor. So you don't have to manually input any of that information from When I Work to your payroll processor. We will do that for you. The integration will send it off. And again, if you want to just click Set Up Payroll Integration, this is another place that you can start that process as well. And then another quick plug for our Need Help Center. We have an article for each one of our payroll integrations, and it's step-by-step showing you how to integrate. And they're really simple. Just take time with the article and it will step you through how to do it. And of course, we're here to help too, but these are really great resources. Just click Need Help and type in Gusto or ADP, for example, and they will all come up.
Fabulous. All right. It looks like the rest of the questions that we have here are pertaining to how we can check out the plan and pricing. So I think that's a good time to wrap things up here.
Definitely. Let me just quickly swap my screen over one last time. All right, so I'm going to talk you through the plans that we have, and it's not very long because we have condensed our plans quite a bit to make it super simple and easy to figure out which plan is right for you. Essentially, we just have one plan with an add-on if you have under 100 users. It's called the Small Business Scheduling Plan. This will include all of the tools that we talked about today when it comes to scheduling and availability, those sorts of things. That'll all be on our small business plan. If you have any need for attendance or timesheets, that will be included on the attendance add-on. So if you need scheduling and attendance tools, your plan is just called Small Business Scheduling plus the attendance add-on. And you can, of course, just have scheduling if you just need the scheduling portion. And this is the attendance portion includes all that we talked about at the end of the webinar when it comes to mobile clock-in, GPS enforcement, integrations to payroll. That's all the attendance add-on kind of area. You can actually also upgrade your account and learn more about your account information and the different plans that we offer within your When I Work account. So when you create an account, you will have an account and billing page, and you can reach that from the gear icon. This is where you can click upgrade your account to learn more about the different plans that we offer. You'll choose if you want scheduling and the attendance added on as well, and then you'll choose the billing frequency monthly or annually. You do get a 5% discount if you do the annual billing option, but the monthly is a really good option too for more flexibility. And then you can actually just purchase your plan from directly within your account. You don't have to contact anybody. You can do this all on your own if you know what you need. And of course, though, if you need any help as you figure out what plan might be right for you, if When I Work is right for you, or if you get stuck anywhere or just want some help setting up your account and some advice, just a friendly face, we're always here to help you as you get started. You can reach us from the little green chat bubble found within your account at the bottom right-hand corner. If you just click on that, you'll pop up our friendly faces and we'll be able to help you out. And if you don't have an account yet, that's not a problem. You can reach us at gettingstarted@wheniwork.com. And all of this information is in the chat tool. So within the chat, you'll find all of our onboarding resources that we've compiled for you all, including all the links to getting started and to getting in contact with us. And of course, the links to our help center. And I will not forget, it also has a link to our education center, which is so important to getting started if you just want something to step you through A to Z of getting your When I Work account started. Check out the When I Work Education Center. It essentially is just training for you and your team, and it's everything you need to know about setting up your account. But of course, if you want some personal help, just someone to chat with, we're here to help as well. So chat with us anytime. So I think that's all of the words I have for you all today. Again, check out all those links that we have within the chat before we end here. But that's kind of a wrap. So chat with us if you have any questions. And thanks everyone for joining us and taking your time to ask questions today.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.